Welcome, everyone. Today, we are exploring the core principles of the Emotionally Intelligent Manager by David R. Caruso and Peter Salovey. David Caruso is a management consultant, and Peter Salovey is a pioneer in the field of psychology and the president of Yale University. Their work challenges the traditional notion that emotions have no place in business. Instead, they argue that emotions are not just important, but absolutely necessary for making optimal decisions, solving problems, and successfully leading teams through change. Many of us were taught to leave emotions at the door, viewing them as chaotic remnants that cloud our judgment. However, neuroscience reveals a different reality. Emotion centers in the brain are an integral part of what it means to be intelligent. This slide highlights a crucial paradigm shift. Emotion is information. Without emotion, rational decision-making is actually neurologically impossible. An emotionally intelligent manager doesn't choose between logic and feelings. They integrate them to create synergy and better leadership outcomes. To leverage emotional data, managers must differentiate between a signal and noise. Emotions are signals. They start quickly, have specific causes, and contain critical data about people and environments. Moods, however, are the noise. They last a long time, often occur for unknown reasons, and act as a lingering background filter that can distort thinking if not managed. An intelligent manager learns to identify the actionable signal, like a brief feeling of unease, rather than letting a bad mood cloud their strategic focus. Let's compare two managerial styles. Manager A, the suppressor, believes emotions must be kept at arm's length. They shut off feelings and ignore critical interpersonal data, often leading to a team that feels disconnected. Manager B, the integrator, views emotions as an integral part of work. They remain open to feelings, using them to inform attention and intentionally manage the team's emotional state. By integrating rational logic with emotional data, Manager B achieves the optimal choices necessary for effective leadership. Emotional intelligence is not a fixed personality trait. It is a measurable, hierarchical set of 4 distinct abilities. Think of these as steps. First, we identify emotions by reading people accurately. Second, we use emotions to direct our attention and thinking. Third, we understand emotions to predict how they will progress. Finally, we manage emotions by integrating them into complex decision-making. Each skill builds on the others, allowing us to solve interpersonal challenges in an integrated way. Reading people is the foundation of the blueprint. To get accurate data, we process 3 streams. Verbal cues include word choice and tone. For instance, a terse, loud tone often indicates anger. Nonverbal cues involve facial expressions, like a genuine versus a forced smile, and body posture. Finally, we must check internal cues by identifying our own baseline feelings before evaluating others. Without accurate awareness, the entire decision-making process operates on flawed assumptions and garbage data. How we feel directly influences how we think. Positive, high-energy emotions like joy expand our thinking and are optimal for brainstorming and generating new ideas. On the other hand, negative or low-energy emotions like mild anxiety can narrow our focus and improve deductive reasoning. This state is actually optimal for detail-oriented tasks like proofreading budgets or finding errors. An emotionally intelligent manager actively generates or leverages specific moods to match the problem-solving task at hand. Emotions are not random. They follow logical patterns and rules. By understanding these root causes, managers can conduct emotional what-if analyses. For example, the escalation trajectory of anger typically moves from irritation to annoyance, then frustration, and finally, rage. An intelligent manager understands these rules and intercepts the emotion early, at the frustration phase, using that energy to confront a wrong or solve a blockage before it escalates into a blind, destructive rage. Managing emotions is the keystone of this model. It does not mean suppressing feelings or venting them uncontrollably. Instead, it means staying open to the data provided by emotions, even uncomfortable ones like anxiety or sadness. Closing yourself off means blinding yourself to critical feedback. The goal is emotional balance, passion integrated with reason. By integrating rational hard facts with emotional gut feelings, you can achieve optimal decision-making and avoid disasters caused by reacting purely on impulse. The emotional blueprint is a reproducible schematic for navigating complex leadership challenges. It cycles through the 4 skills. You start by identifying the current state of everyone involved. You then use those emotions to consider how they are influencing the team's thinking. Next, you understand the root causes and forecast how feelings will change as events unfold. Finally, you manage the situation by including both rational and emotional data to execute an optimal, effective decision. When facing a management challenge, don't rely on gut instinct alone. Run the scenario through diagnostic questions. Phase 1 is diagnosis. Ask yourself, how do I feel? And how are these feelings influencing our current thoughts? Phase 2 is strategy. Ask, why do these people feel this way? And what can I do to help them stay open to the data in their feelings? These questions help filter out the noise of moods and focus on the actionable data required to solve problems. The most difficult customer every manager faces is the one in the mirror. Imagine evaluating a risky pitch while you are feeling highly optimistic. You might identify your soaring optimism, but you must understand that positive moods can obscure critical details and risks. To manage yourself, you might intentionally trigger a more neutral or slightly negative cognitive state to critically evaluate the data before making a commitment. This ensures you don't miss fatal flaws simply because you were caught up in the excitement. Leading effective teams means leveraging the wisdom of your team's feelings. If you must deliver bad news about an unworkable project, first identify that the team is highly optimistic and attached. Simply telling them to work harder will likely cause them to crash into surprise and anger. Instead, manage the situation. Share the facts to generate a shared sense of concern. Enlist their passion by framing the setback as a critical challenge to solve, turning potential resistance into shared dedication. We conclude with a quote from Sylvan Tompkins. Out of the marriage of reason with affect, there issues clarity with passion. Reason without affect would be impotent. Affect without reason would be blind. An emotionally intelligent manager recognizes that emotion is not a distraction. It is the data required to lead. By embracing these skills, you don't just do things right, you do the right thing. Building teams that show lasting loyalty, commitment, and effective performance in the face of any challenge.